Ladies, gentlemen, and tarnished of all ages, how do you feel about ice lightning? Yeah, this is one of the cooler, unique elements added within Elden Ring. For all intents and purposes, actually in-game, this is just lightning damage that also deals frost status buildup, and it's blue. It looks like blue lightning, and the two things in the game that we as players actually have access to that use this just look absolutely awesome. So understandably, it is something that we just want to make the most out of in general. The two things that we as players have access to apply this unique element are the Dragonscale Blade, which is a katana that can become laced with ice lightning itself as it slashes around, which can actually be quite strong all by itself, and of course the incantation Frozen Lightning Spear. Oh right, there's also the Dragon Halberd, but whoever uses that anyways? This incantation is pretty decent against bigger targets, but not bad at all against small targets either, especially if what you are specifically looking for here is applying the frost debuff. We've made a build before based around these two things on this channel, and it was pretty strong, but we struggled with the fact that the incantation scales with faith mainly, while the weapon itself scales with dexterity, so it's hard to make the most of both at the same time, making them work properly in tandem. In the original build we went with faith and focusing the incantation over the sword. However, there has recently been the release of patch 1.07 for Elden Ring, and with this patch both of these items have actually been buffed within their own way. The sword has been made stronger in general, increasing its attack power as a whole, and also the attack power added by the ice lightning buff, and also the duration of the buff itself, increasing it to last for 45 seconds as opposed to the 30 seconds that it was lasting before. The incantation has been made better at applying frost buildup, and so today we are remaking this build and sort of flipping the intended focus around, because the incantation is now really good at causing buildup, even capable of applying it into casts to certain enemies, and our new goal is to focus all of our stats around the katana and use it as the main star of the show for dealing damage, while simply taking advantage of the incantation itself at the start of the fight to apply the frost debuff now. With frost debuff applied, the sword hits will deal even more damage, and over the last couple of patches, two-handing weapons has been improved, and so we get to look like an absolute badass using the two-handed katana moveset while our weapon is crackling with dragon lightning.
I am pretty cool.
This build isn't going to one-shot any bosses, and it can absolutely hold its own in PvP as well as any build focused around, using a weapon's hits. It depends entirely on your ability to use it against your opponent. It is simply a nice, complete build taking the best advantage of these two awesome dragon lightning things that we possibly can. So, what makes it all function then, and where can you get all of the pieces? Well, first up, of course, the most important and notable part of everything that we are doing here is the Dragonscale Blade itself, and this weapon is found by killing the Dragonkin soldier boss that you can find at this location in the southeast of the Lake of Rot region. The Frozen Lightning Spear incantation, which is of course our most used incantation within this build, can be found by killing another Dragonkin soldier boss, a little bit more of a journey to get to, specifically in Ainsel River. Go to the Ainsel River downstream site of Grace and follow the path westward until you see a massive throne. At this throne, the boss will spawn and it will drop the incantation once you've defeated it. As for our actual casting seal, we want to use the Gravelstone seal. This one boosts Dragon Cult incantations by 15% all by itself, and of course Frozen Lightning Spear counts within this classification. To get this seal then, you have to go to the West Capital Rampart site of Grace in Lane Dell, the capital city, head north and then jump off of the balcony on your left to drop down to the floor. You'll see two knights in front of you as you continue, and the one wielding the spear drops this seal upon death. As for your armor within this build, it is just totally up to you, either fashion, but obviously poise matters quite a bit as well, in a build where you're just looking for general weapon attacks to do the majority of your damage. So weigh that against how much you wish to spend on your endurance attribute. And then we come to the talismans. While it is the weapon slashes themselves that we are going to be using the most, the skill Ice Lightning Sword that powers up the weapon in the first place actually does pretty damn good damage on its own. And so of course we are going to use the Shard of Alexander talisman to boost its damage by a nice healthy 15%. This talisman is acquired as part of a 3-part quest chain. The first part requires you to talk to Alexander in Radahn's desert after defeating that boss. The second part is in the lava pools just to the west of the Seethwater terminus site of Grace, and then finally by the Dragon Temple lift in Farah Missoula you can find Alexander one last time, and at the end of this specific interaction you will receive this talisman for yourself. As both of our main weapons today deal lightning damage, we also want to boost that as much as physically possible, and so in PvE specifically we are using the Lightning Scorpion Charm to boost our lightning damage by 12%, though I wouldn't recommend having this on in PvP as the buff is somewhat negligible, especially compared to the increase in damage taken portion of the talisman. It's just balanced differently in PvP. To get this for yourself, head to the Windham Catacombs dungeon in the Altus Plateau and open the Impstone statue sealed door found within. As well, I would recommend the Phlox Canvas Talisman. This boosts the damage of all incantations by 8%, which is quite good, even with the incantation not being our main weapon within this build. To acquire this, once you have completed the Millicent questline, just head back to Gary's shack in the middle of Caelid and kill Gary himself, upon which he will drop this talisman for you to use.
Stupid bug! You go squish now!
And then for your last remaining talisman slot, there is nothing that quite fits perfectly with this. You can use the Rotten Winged Sword insignia, but you don't often get the opportunity to attack more than 3 times in a row, and so the bonus damage doesn't really activate all that often. Or you could instead use the slots for utility. And as far as utility talismans go, I highly recommend either the Erdtree's Favor +2 talisman to boost your health, stamina, and equip load, or the Dragon Crest Great Shield talisman to boost all of your physical defenses quite a noticeable amount. With talismans covered, we of course still have our wondrous Physick here, and the obvious first choice is the Lightning Shrouding Cracked Tear. This boosts all lightning damage by 20% for 3 minutes after drinking the flask, so it just makes everything that we're doing even better. To acquire this, defeat the boss at the Minor Erdtree on the eastern side of Liurnia up in the hills. As for your other tier slot, once again the multi-hit option is available with the Thorny Cracked Tear, but unless you are God's gift to Elden Ring players and can literally dodge 100% of incoming attacks, you're more likely to get good use out of a utility option here. Overall, it's personal choice really, but as I said before, with the Rotten Winged Sword insignia, you're just not all that likely to hit more than 3 times in a row with the way that this build works. Then we of course have 2 more incantations in use with the build, and you can probably guess what they are, as they're the most commonly used incantations in general. They're just pretty much in any build that has incantations, honestly. First is of course Golden Vow, which boosts your damage output by 15% and your damage resistance by around 10% for 90 seconds. This one is just incredibly good. You can never really go without it if you have any faith in your build at all. And to get this one, just head to the Corpse Stench Shack on the eastern side of Mount Gelmir in the Altus Plateau. The other one is Flame Grant Me Strength, which boosts your physical and fire damage by 20% for 30 seconds, which of course affects our sword hits themselves, which are an important part of the damage within this build. To get this incantation, simply head to Fort Gale on the western side of Caelid, and behind the fort itself, between 2 big angry spicy heads on wheels, you'll find this incantation waiting to be picked up. Then of course we have the stats within the build itself, the attributes that you want to go for, and today these are quite simple, as we are focusing on the blade itself and using the incantation more for the utility of applying frostbite, and the build-up does not change with the scaling. We are going to aim for 80 dexterity to really get the most out of the katana. Then you want 34 faith to be able to use the incantation. This is the minimum required for using it, and then past that you want a good healthy amount of vigor. Anything above 40 is doable, but the closer to 60 that you can get, the more comfortable you will feel. You need enough endurance to use medium rolls, and the real sweet spot for mind here is 19, as this gives you 116 FP exactly, which is the amount required to cast Frozen Lightning Spear exactly 4 times before you need to drink a flask. And that's about it. A build created to make the most out of Ice Lightning within Elden Ring, made quite notably stronger within patch 1.07 and refocused to take proper advantage of these new buffs. You use Frozen Lightning Spear at the start of the fight to apply the debuff itself, and then just get hacking and slashing with the beautiful glowing blue sword in both hands. I hope you've all enjoyed this build, and I hope you enjoy using it yourself if you try it out. Let us know what other weapons or spells, especially things that have been recently undergoing changes in the patch, that you'd like to see us make entire builds around in the near future. Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.